Hey guys, what's up? Lyndon here, and today I'm going to give you guys a walkthrough as to how do you go about creating lists within your HubSpot CRM, so that when you're preparing yourself to go to do email marketing, I'm going to talk a little bit as to why that is also important. So if it is that you would have seen the last video that I did on creating filters, the process and the philosophy is always the same. But as it relates to email marketing, because email marketing is such a big part of our attract strategy as it relates to our sales strategies, we need to make sure that we're not just blasting everyone. Have you ever received an email marketing campaign from someone that didn't have anything to do with you? Or have you sent out an email marketing campaign sometimes and you realize that you get things like low open rates, or some people never opened it, or some folks unsubscribed and they blocked you, or they recorded you as spam because of the fact that sometimes your message isn't relevant to the individual. And a lot of the times we get all hyped and excited about pushing messages out, but not understanding the philosophy that we need to adopt a specific account-based sales or account-based marketing, or just a matter of simple segmentation to make sure that the outreach that we want to do through the marketing team or through our marketing efforts is going to the right people. Whoever you have designated as your ideal client profile, the personas, what's important to them, and the messages that you're actually trying to get out to those people. That is why it's important to take the time and develop lists, or as we would like to call it, segmentation, as part of your strategy to increase your open rates, to make sure that your message is hitting the right people, it's getting the right ears, it's getting the right level of attention, because of the fact that you want to make sure that you are nurturing the right accounts before, during, and after the sale. All right, so how do we go about doing that within our HubSpot CRM? And one of the first things that you will normally get, one of the first things that would normally happen when you get into your HubSpot CRM, based upon where your interface, however your interface is set up, specifically your home screen, is that you will have to go to your contacts pane, right? And at the bottom, you will notice that it says here lists, right? So if it is that you were to click on lists, it will then take you to a list pane. Now, let's talk a little bit about your lists. You have two types of lists as it relates within HubSpot. You have something that's called an active list, and you have something that's called a static list. Let's talk a little bit about the static list. Your static list is really like a dud. It really doesn't do much other than store contacts that you want to have there. You can maybe reuse them from in the past, but the list in itself really represents you will have to manually add and remove. So you have to actually manage those lists for yourself. So if it is that you have to add Lyndon Braffett or remove Lyndon Braffett based upon I'm no longer working at a particular organization or within a specific industry, or let's say, for instance, my job title would have changed, you have to now add or remove or make those specific adjustments in a static list. Now, there are many different ways as to how static lists fall within your CRM. I can get a static list if, let's say, for instance, I'm uploading a number of different contacts from off of my phone. Once I do that import, let's say I'm bringing in 10 or 20 or 15 contacts from off of my phone into my CRM, that could be one area as to how I can get a static list from that. If I'm doing an import, let's say from my MailChimp or from my an Excel, or let's say, for instance, I did a Google form or SurveyMonkey or wherever it is, any CSV file that I'm actually uploading, you will notice that HubSpot is going to ask you if you want to make that a static list. All right. So you have many different ways that a static list can come into your CRM. Excuse me. But again, the management of the list will all be dependent upon you actually going in, adding and removing those particular people, or making the adjustments to their portfolios or profiles or personas, etc. Active lists. Now, when it comes to active lists, your active list really means that HubSpot is going to be working with you and consistently checking on the back end as to what's happening with these contacts. Are their job titles still the same? Are they still in the same industries? However it is that you would have categorized them or filtered them initially, are they still in the same position or areas, so that you would always get the list being active and up-to-date, current. What happens if it is that my title was to change? Well, if my title moved from middle manager to senior executive, and you have messages specific to senior executives, then guess what? HubSpot would remove me from being a middle manager and put me in the senior executive lists. Let's say, for instance, I change industry. Let's say, for instance, I was working in the government industry, and I moved from the government industry and I went into the private sector within a specific industry within the private sector. Then, again, once you update that within HubSpot, HubSpot will always be checking and it will put that person into the respective bucket, making it less work for you. So an active list and a static list, it's very, very different as it relates to how the list works for you, but the creation of the lists are all the same. So let's go into how you create it now. So the first thing that you will do, as I said, after you go from contacts into lists, once you're here, this is an example of all of my lists that I've created to date. Now, based upon the type of subscription that you will have the ability of creating 5 active lists and 25 static lists. If it is going into HubSpot Marketing Starter, you get the ability of doing 25 static and 25 active. I have HubSpot Sales Starter, so my maximum is 5 active lists, which I think I've really maxed out already. So, but we're just going to go through the exercise, all right? So it's going to default as an active list. Let's say, for instance, I want to say this is C-Suite 2, right? When I switch over, the first thing that I'm going to get here is a message that's telling me, okay, you know what? I've maximized my dynamic list. Well, it's calling it dynamic and it's calling it here active, same thing. So I'm going to switch it to a static list. Excuse me. And then you have a list of other areas as to how different filter types, and you can choose the many different ways that you want to filter. If it is that I have a SurveyMonkey survey and I want to filter based upon either the questions that were answered by the customer or either by the survey itself, I can filter. So I can say everyone that answered these particular questions or everyone that answered this particular survey. If it's via events, I can say everyone that came to these specific events. If it's by forms, I can say people who filled out these specific forms. But in this instance, we want to just go with the simple thing of the contact properties. And we want to look for job title. So again, here we're just going to type in job title, right? And we're going to choose it from here. And what we want to look at now, I want to go with everyone that has a specific role of, let's just say, managing directors and CEOs. So I will say managing, right? Managing director, and the other one I'll put there is CEO. And what you will see is that HubSpot would immediately start scrubbing through all of my contacts, and immediately, will take a while, but it will bring up who those contacts are. And again, because we created the filter via job title, if I look to the middle, I'm seeing managing director and CEO. What if I were to add one more? Let's say, for instance, I wanted to add anyone that had the title of MD or chief, right? Because in some instances, it's easier to spell it out. Some companies may have it spelled out, or you may actually have it based upon how somebody has it on their call card. It may show up a different way on the call card. So you want to make sure you capture all of the different ways or categories that people may have their titles written so that you don't have any errors. Let's say we want to look at a executive chairman. Right? Or we just want to look at a chairman. Again, we added 2 more to the list, so the list is going to gradually keep building, right, from here. And if it is that we would have scrubbed through, we're going to see everything is beginning to change. If it is that we have any executive chairmans and otherwise, it's all going to be there, right? Once you're happy with that, you apply your filter, right? It's going to start doing its estimation. So here on the top left-hand side, it's going to tell you, well, maybe we've only found, let's say, about 16. And here we will be able to click save. And from there, when we go back out, we will see now that we would have just added C-Suite 2 to our list. And it's going to take a little while to scrub through everything, all of the 397 contacts that I have. But this here is an example of, different things that I would have created, different lists that I would have created. And this is really important when it comes to your email marketing campaigns, which I'll be covering in a subsequent video later on. But this is exactly as to why it's important and how do you go about creating lists within your HubSpot CRM. So if you found that this video was helpful, give me a like down at the bottom of the on the channel. And of course, if you know anyone HubSpot user that they're having a challenge in terms of creating lists, please feel free to share this with them. And of course, as always, please subscribe to receive more updates as it relates to more things about HubSpot. All right, guys, take care. Peace.